Hello, everybody! Welcome back to the Men's Couch, a men's show about men's mental health. I'm Alex Hannon.
This is Angie.
I'm Xander.
Alexander Brown.
And
Yes, I'm Micah. I'm trying to be the audience, but I might chime in.
yeah, welcome back to the Men's Couch. We're episode number 7, I believe, of season 3. Hope you guys are enjoying the season so far. Before we start, please follow us on Spotify and also follow us on Instagram at Men's Couch. Now, for this time around, Xander's going to take us away with the topic of today's episode. So, Xander, take it away.
That's right, you goobers. Tonight, we're going to break down the proper ways to go about assisting those that are extroverts and introverts. Because there are many different ways, different paths that you could take and approach them.
Indeed.
So we're going to start off with the extroverts. You know, your yappingtons of yap. The ones that love talking just like Hennon.
You betcha.
Oh, yeah.
That's definitely me. I definitely would consider myself an extrovert. Because I do like, I like talking, meeting new people. But I know some people aren't like that. People think, I know some people think it's not great to be an introvert or an extrovert. Like, people think it's just black and white.
Oh, yeah. See, like,
But
it's good it's always good to be one or the other. There's even that mix of both. It's not a bad thing if you're an extrovert, not a bad thing if you're an introvert.
yeah.
And the thing with the extroverts, what?
I can speak on this real quick. So, I am an introvert. It was hard initially for me to become roommates with Alex because we're two opposite people. But it worked out. Wait, was your question like how do you like handle introverts?
How we're going to go about assisting introverts and extroverts.
Like assisting them?
Yeah.
For me, as an introvert, it's I do a lot of messaging because I like to message out my thoughts and like write about them before like I message them. And allow them to this is hard because I would say messaging, but also allow them to like have their space.
They kind of don't feel
well.
forced in connection.
What?
They kind of don't feel forced in connection with others. Like
The
they
introverts?
Yeah. Are you trying to say that like they can feel like they can speak?
Well, also,
without a direct connection?
Invade their space as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like for me, like with Alex, sometimes I just like allow him to invade my space because I'm not like and I always say this, like if it weren't for him, I wouldn't have like met a lot of people because I'm not like always good at initiating things. So I feel like
Me too.
yeah,
Me too.
yeah.
I would say, as an introvert myself, it's kind of hard to start a conversation, at least in my experiences, but I'm a pretty quiet person, but I can get along with pretty much anyone. So as long as I'm just like feeling the vibe, I could definitely talk to people.
So question for Mike and Alex. You rely on the extroverts to try and like make connections.
So I wouldn't necessarily say reliance. It's more of like help. Like he helps me in like ways that like he kind of like strengthens me in ways that I'm not like strong as far as like social interaction. So he's like the marketing major, like good at like being like out there, just he just go up to a lot of people and just or just like, hey, what's going on. So that like having him be the like connector, I'm able to meet new people through him because he's already met those people, and I'm able to meet people. But like it's more of like a balance. Like you balance each other out. I would say for me, like I'm, even though like being an introvert, I think I balance you out sometimes. I don't know how you can like attest to that, but
No, I definitely agree. That I was actually about to say that because I think our dynamic, I really like our dynamic of, because you've taught me some things, like definitely more culture when it comes to like music.
yeah.
And because Micah has his record player, he plays a lot, and that really like broadens my view of like
Well,
certain of art.
But also like how to like balance you out with as far as like personality wise. Like,
Oh yeah, true. Like I guess being more what's the word for it?
introspective.
Introspective. Yes,
Yeah.
I like that's the good
Yeah.
word for it.
I agree.
Would you say kind of like open up your mind and help you realize that people are there for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can say that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I feel like I'm like, so because sometimes like before we go to bed, before he goes to bed, I'll like if I notice that something is like on his mind or whatever, I'll like go over and like I'll like speak like a sentence into him, and then it like sometimes somehow helps. I guess it does help, but it's kind of like it's something that you didn't know that you needed.
Yeah.
And like I guess like introverts, because like we think more like internally, we're able to like kind of understand what someone might be feeling like internally, because of how we're like so introspective already. But yeah, I feel like that's like that's how like I help and balance you out. I don't know if that answered your question.
No, it did actually.
Okay.
I mean, me personally, I started off in life as an introvert. I spoke to almost nobody. I just like more so kept to myself. But also like once I started to get to know people, I felt comfortable and I started talking more.
Yeah.
But over the past couple of years, I've actually turned into an extrovert. Like I'm always going out and talking to people, even if I don't know you. Courtesy of Kane Kirk. That man.
Oh yeah. Kane from last episode.
The amount of compliments I've seen that man spit in the span of 5 minutes was insane. 8 people walked past us and practically
He actually did it today.
I
We were
know.
walking. And he's like, someone walked by. He's like, hey, that's a nice shirt.
that man's
I'm
definitely like
hey, dude.
the biggest extrovert I've ever met.
And you know what? Like honestly, that's fantastic.
I know.
Yeah. Kane's the go if he's listening. Probably not, but if he is.
Yeah, like when I started off as an introvert, one of the biggest things that ended up helping me with, in terms of people being there, was the patience.
Mhm.
Because I really didn't want to talk, and it didn't matter who it was. But like, I just didn't want to talk about it. But then once I started building up that comfort with people, as an introvert, I was ready to talk, and I realized that they were willing to listen.
I agree.
I agree too. I mean, as an introvert, I had pretty much the same friends, like the same 3 friends all high school, and those are the only people I really trusted to talk to. So opening up to like new people has kind of been a little bit of a struggle, but especially since I came here.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with what you're saying for sure.
Has it benefited you?
Yeah, I'd say it has for sure. I mean,
That's
I
good.
wouldn't be here if it hasn't. So
That's excellent to hear. I love it. I love it.
It's good.
I like what you said about like how you're an introvert, but when you meet like certain people and you like sense the vibe or whatever, you become more like open to it. I kind of relate to that because believe it or not, I consider myself an introvert, but if I meet the right people and I feel like comfortable and welcomed, I open up more and I'm funnier and stuff. But
Yeah.
when I just like don't feel like, it's not anything personal with other people, but sometimes you just feel a connection, sometimes you just don't. It's like I'm more closed off and I'm not as open as I am. So I don't know, like, do you guys consider ambiverts to be a thing,
Yeah,
or
it's
do
a
you
thing.
just consider that people are either or and they just have certain traits of the
What,
opposite?
what exactly is?
It's like in the middle.
It's in the
It's
middle. It's
smack
like
in the
both.
middle. I feel like,
I've read a lot about this.
me personally, I actually feel like that is a thing, and I feel like it does exist. But they're so rare that you just like don't happen to really think of it as much. I mean, like me, I just stated I shifted from introvert to extrovert. I wasn't anywhere in the middle actually. It was just like a click.
Yeah.
I feel like I think there are some times where I am in the middle, where I just feel like I don't really want to talk to anybody at that moment. But most of the time, I would say I'm an extrovert. But I do believe those exist. The middle ground. I think those definitely do exist. I think sometimes I do fall in the area. That's interesting.
So it's interesting that you say that because a lot of people mistake me for being an extrovert, and it's kind of like sometimes it's annoying because it goes like with a misconception about like who introverts are. Like introverts, we talk to people, we socialize, but how we socialize is just different than extroverts. And I'm not saying like it's like so black and white, but it's, I don't know how to put this. So I think people say that about me because I do like to meet new people, and I do like to like gather people around like with the game nights and everything. I like to do those things. I like to be what Gary called me, like a community initiator or whatever. So I think I still do that, but I think what people get wrong about introverts is that we can't do those things. We can, we just do it differently. But yeah, I've always considered myself an introvert. More specifically an INFJ, which I've read, like INFJs are always said to be mistaken for extroverts, which is funny. So there are those where you're mistaken to be an extrovert, but like at heart I'm an introvert. So I don't know. Yeah.
No, I get that because I've seen like everyone has their limits of social.
Yeah,
Would you say introverts have just a lesser amount of the social bar than introverts would?
Or it runs out quickly.
Yeah.
Or it's like their preference is probably like they have a larger preference over spending time with others than spending time to themselves. Meanwhile, introverts probably have the opposite. They probably have a higher preference to spending time to themselves than spending time with other people, which is why that makes like introverts such sensitive, typically like empathic people to be able to sense like when somebody's going through something, because they spend so much time within their own selves to recognize like their own emotions and struggles and realize when something is wrong, that they can sense a change in someone's like personality when something is up with them.
Yeah.
So
I feel like both sides have an advantage and disadvantage when it comes to this, because with introverts, like you stated, they spend so much time with themselves, they become more like empathetic, and they can just like tell. Meanwhile, extroverts, they're around so many people and get to know so many people. Once they get to know them, they can tell when there's an instant mood switch.
yeah, it's like they learn to identify mood switches from different experiences. Like extroverts, they witness it because they're around the people, so they sense when something's wrong, and introverts do quite the opposite, so they can also do the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Especially the extroverts that are empaths. Speaking on that personally, because for me personally, it's easy to tell because it's just like just that connection in the room that you have and the people that you're around. It's just a click.
Yeah.
So I did want to talk about community, but I'm gonna like kind of talk about it a little bit here. So I think what a lot of what Gary has said about me is like, oh, you have the gift of bringing people together in like community. So I think the way I see it is that like as a community, like you need both introverts and extroverts because we both bring different gifts to the table.
Exactly.
And everyone is, the way I approach the game nights is like, this is like everyone can come. It's not like it's not like, oh, just only extroverts. It's like for everyone, because I want to like meet you and want you to like meet other new people. So but as far as like what? But as far as supporting, I feel like if you're supporting an introvert, you have to. I feel like you also have to allow them to speak of what it like what it is that they're going through, because at least for me, I like to that you ask questions about things, and that you just allow me to like what you said, like with patience and stuff like that. So I like that.
I can just speak on that because, like, with the introverts, you kind of provide those questions that will warm them up, and it's gotta kind of like be directed towards them, and you gotta let them speak, because they do tend to, like, they love to speak. They love to speak about their experiences, themselves, all that. Kind of gotta let it build up, and then you ease into the issue. Just like ask them, hey, I noticed there's some events happening. What's up?
What's
Yeah,
that?
it's a I like those like curious questions. Like it's a curiosity about the person. It's just that you care. It's not like a, like, well, what's going on, like interrogation, which some people can like feel interrogated, but it's mostly like a curious. You're being open to, like, not trying to like assume what's going on. I think that's so important when you're supporting someone, is to not assume that of what you know, but to let the person speak on what's going on. You might have like an idea of what's going on, but it's not like the full thing. Yeah.
And I feel like extroverts, when they go to talk to introverts about it, it's an automatic, they automatically assume. Like, they try to assume stuff that happens, and they don't really take the time to break it down and ease into it.
Yeah, because I mean, everyone is different. I've said this many times on the episodes, like everyone is different, but that could be the general consensus.
Consensus.
Yes, I know words.
English.
I know English.
Womp womp.
Mhm.
Hola, soy Dora. But like, no, I definitely agree with you. I feel like, some people could feel that way. Yeah.
You know what happened? Okay, so
wait.
what?
I think I was gonna say something.
All right,
Oh,
well,
sorry.
Well, back
Okay.
to what Micah was saying. I think introverts and extroverts. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all people. So I think you
Yeah.
should be able to have conversations with anyone, no matter what they're like.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. It's kind of like they gotta warm up to it. Everyone will have a conversation at some point.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
What
I
were you
mean,
saying, Micah?
sorry.
So what
I mean,
happened,
it's not like you're gonna go up to someone and be like, "Are you an extrovert?" Yeah, bye. I mean, you're gonna
So what
talk to
happened
them.
was like
but-
at game night. I don't know who said I don't know who said it, but they were like, oh, why do you have that face? Like they said that to you.
What?
They're like, oh,
Wait,
why do you
what?
Talking to me
no,
or
to
Alex?
To Alex.
Who,
Like,
me?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I said, well,
Wait,
like
wait. Go back. What happened?
so I mean, it's not like
Back up.
super. I don't want to get into like
What
specifics,
happened?
but really what happened is just like, someone looked. It was like kind of like a joke. I think if someone said, "Oh, you just need to smile more," I don't like when
Oh.
people say that.
Oh, that's rude.
Like you
That-
need to
that's-
smile more.
That's probably
Like,
one of the worst.
Like, shut up.
ways.
Like even though I smile a lot, but so I don't like when people say that, because it's like saying like to the introvert, well, you're not enough of who you are.
And like, by
Exactly.
the way, like a smile is not always an indicator of like,
I don't think you should.
Of like
being-
they're okay.
yeah.
One
Yeah.
of the
In fact, like most people smile when they're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's like it's a go-to.
I smile a lot.
You
One-
laugh a lot, and then you're like, oh, okay, and that's how I know you're uncomfortable.
Well, either way, no one should say that to a person.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you just smile.
Like you should shut your mouth more.
Well, yeah. My face should hit your face. my face should hit your face.
I don't know. At least smiling for me, it just kind of feels fake. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
of course, I am happy a lot of the time, but it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like smiling. It just doesn't feel like I am happy when I smile.
So my question
Yeah,
is, how
it's
can
true.
I feel like our American society is about the extrovert ideal, that being the extrovert, and I've read a lot about this. Being the extrovert is like the ideal. You want to be like the life of the party or whatever. And I felt like so insecure of like through college, and also like kind of a little bit like, a little bit in high school. Yeah. So my question is, well, first I feel like you have a lot to say about that. Like,
About
the extrovert ideal.
Well, I just think you should really just be yourself. I don't
Yeah.
think you should be an extrovert if you're not.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never like
'Cause-
force yourself. Just be proud of who you are.
exactly.
I
Because
also
kinda-
like don't think that, so like, you know how people have like, they're like, oh, I'm an extrovert, or oh, I'm an introvert. Like, you shouldn't, just because you think you're something, you shouldn't have to try to fit into that box of,
Yeah.
I'm an extrovert, so I should do this, or I shouldn't do that, or
Yeah.
I should not do this. Because it's like,
Oh.
just be yourself. Because even introvert and extrovert people have opposite traits. Okay, Alex, I know you want to say something.
That
No,
was
keep,
a-
no,
that
keep
was
going.
a-
'Cause I'm gonna
So
agree
that
with
was
you.
it, that was it. Just like, don't try to fit yourself into a box of what you think you need to be because you fit into a category. Just be who you are. Just be who you're gonna be,
Be proud.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the right people will not judge that.
Exactly. Like, oh my god. Okay, but like, no, because legit, like when you're an extrovert most of the time, or like me, and I'm sometimes introverted. Some people just think, oh, what's wrong? Something's wrong. No, it's just how I feel today. That's it. There's not most of the time. If that's that's just how it is.
Most of the time, it's just like a weather thing.
It's a weather
Like,
thing. I
It's
don't know.
storming. Oh man, I can't play with my doggy outside.
And also, like, people think that if you're quiet and you're an extrovert, there's something wrong with you.
There really isn't.
It's like, there
No.
really isn't. There's just, people have different days, and you just want a solitude day to recover from all the social interaction, You-
Yeah,
I'm
like-
a lot like that.
Like if you're henning where you yap the entire week, I'd take the weekend off to like catch my breath.
But going off of what I said about like the extrovert ideal, I did feel like insecure for most of my life about just not being the life of the party, not like doing all that, and it's funny, it's ironic because of me like being the host of game nights, and that's also like a thing. It's that I'm not like the life of the party, and I felt like insecure for most of my life about that. And that's where like kind of like TikTok, when I was in high school, I used TikTok, and I would. Why do you look at me like that?
Sorry, I just never thought you had social media. in
Yeah,
general.
so-
He's like dazing into your eyes.
I would use like I would use TikTok to kind of like deal with that because I was insecure about like, oh, I don't have as many friends as people on TikTok. I'm not like this person. I feel insecure about my personality. But it wasn't until like I kind of like got older that I realized that being an introvert and who I am is enough, and I have many gifts. And that goes for not just for introverts, but for everyone else. But that also, I was also kind of like conditioned to believe that being an introvert is bad because, growing up with my family, I would say, me and my sister are the introverts of the family. We're, quiet and we're like to ourselves. But my parents are totally opposite. And I think, just like not just like in my family, but in like the wider culture, like the extrovert is like the person that's like always talking or going like out or whatever is seen as like that's like that's the standard to live up to. And this also can come in leadership, and that's why I think when we were campaigning last year, that's also why I felt kind of uncomfortable with that, because I'm not like I'm not like the
Did you
extrovert.
feel uncomfortable, like, about the campaigning aspect, or about the ability to lead due
I
to
think
your own conception of what a leader should be extroverted?
I think both. Like I
Okay.
was like uncomfortable with doing the campaign, but also like just with the the position as president, because I'm always seeing like a president like or a leader as someone that's like out there or extroverted. But it's funny because like when I read about some leaders, they're like actually like true introverts, but when they're
Well, I think it has to do with like leading by example, honestly.
yeah.
And if you're a good example, then you're a good leader.
Yeah, and
And
that doesn't necessarily mean you have to be like so extroverted. Like,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, you should definitely be able to have human interaction because you're in a leadership position, and that will inevitably come with like interacting with other people. But there's a huge misconception that leaders have to be like these big like extroverted people who always want to be the center of attention and everything, and I don't think that's necessarily true. I think a leader, like, part of it is like you said, leading by example, and someone who has good morals and can bring people together and has integrity and can do things the right way, and someone that people can look up to. It doesn't mean that you have to be the life of the party always.
Yeah.
I mean, you can be, but that shouldn't be like the standard for a leader. So.
And also, one of the biggest things with introvert leaders is that type of role actually builds up a confidence inside of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that it can be beneficial to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I have a kind of a good example of this. Like, some actors are pretty introverted.
Yep.
Outside of the TV.
And they play pretty extroverted roles.
Yeah, like you would see in some like interviews or some like I don't know what it's called, like events. They'll be they're nervous about it.
Yeah.
So they'll like either hold other actors' hands or something like that to like, you know,
Like
I can
calm.
hold your hand.
anytime.
Is that a proposal?
Hang on, let me get down on one knee real quick.
Sim City wasn't made for you.
It's like with that, it's because it's their environment and
Yeah.
their role. It's building up the confidence and
Yeah.
just building up that.
Yeah.
Because like with a lead role, it's kind of like a leadership aspect in terms of musicals, plays, movies.
Yeah. I also like think there's also a misconception that all introverts are insecure people. I don't think that's true. That's not true.
That's not true.
No,
They're just
no.
like,
Also a thing.
because they think that just because they may not have such a larger desire to have as much human interaction as maybe extroverts would, that they're insecure people. I've heard that a lot. Like, oh, like, you're introverted, you're quiet, like, you're probably insecure. It's like, that's not true.
Or you need to.
That's just preference.
You need to just lighten up. You need to.
I hate that.
stop
You need
being
to loosen
shy.
up.
Stop being so shy.
See, even as an
It's like, you need to
extrovert,
shut up.
that like that strikes a nerve. Even as an extrovert,
Or
that's
smile more.
like
Yeah,
one of
that-
the worst.
that
And
just-
that smile more is.
Oh my God.
ugh.
Mine was
Takes
the
me
worst.
A good
Angers
example of this. Andrew Pascal. Anyone know that actor?
Mhm.
Yes.
So he is actually pretty introverted, and he held an fellow actor's hand during an event. This is why I kind of brought this up. And some people were like slandering him online, saying, "Oh, you're like a little kid holding someone else's hand," even though it's like it's a social thing. You know, it's they're just nervous and they need that support. And some people need that support sometimes.
And, like, also, like, actors are human beings. Like, they get nervous.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people look up to actors, but they're also people
Yeah.
who feel nervous when millions of people are always looking up to them and always, like, waiting for them to do the next big thing or make the next mistake
I think
or
people
something.
forget. I think people forget that everyone is human,
Yeah.
especially in media.
Yes.
Especially in media. Yeah.
It's like they put people on pedestals, and it's like they're just normal human beings that wake
Yeah.
up in the morning and are sometimes hitting
Yeah.
the snooze button just like you and me.
Wake up in the morning.
So, Alex.
Yo.
Alex Brown.
Yes.
So, how is it like with, I guess, being like, well, you're still a freshman. So, being a freshman and being like an introvert, what is the experience, or what is or how, well, yeah.
Okay, the experience of being a freshman. Okay, so honestly, like my first couple of days, I met some nice people, and I pretty much hung out with them since I've got here.
Mhm.
And I've met a bunch of people, you guys, of course, and just a bunch of other like fraternities, frats, or whatever, just hanging out with a whole bunch of different. I think you should be able to hang out with whoever you want, and I think even if they are an introvert or an extrovert, you can talk to them. You can have these conversations and learn more about people, even if they don't really align too much with your way of thinking, because just being able to talk and having, I guess, people, even if they don't share the same opinions or views as you, they'll be able to have information that's important.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because in my high school, it was like kind of like a social hierarchy. It was invisible, but I mean, you kind of like, that's why I was kind of like just around the same people, because I felt that there was a like line of who you could talk to, or I was limited in who I could talk to, because of because of that environment. I mean, even though it's a stereotype that there's like, you know, the different cliques in high school, but it is true to an extent.
It definitely is.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
and coming here kind of like widened my like who I could talk to. So
Yeah, like, speaking of high school and college, yeah, there's definitely some stereotypes that hang out together in high school. Like it's not like in movies. It's not that bad, but it's still definitely noticeable. In college, you see all different types of groups, and it's honestly amazing. Like the friend groups I'm in, there's different backgrounds and like different personalities, and they all come together and, you know, be for good
and
friends.
that's the purpose of why that's why I do the game nights, is to have, you know, different people from any major or wherever come together and just hang out and chill. That's why I do that, because I think it's an opportunity to meet people that maybe you wouldn't have met on a day-to-day basis. Yeah.
I definitely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else got anything?
Sorry, I'm trying. So someone reached out for help, so I'm trying to help them real
problem,
quick.
no problem.
Related to mental health, by the way. So
Ah.
I'm multitasking right now.
No problem.
Whoa.
Speaking of that, okay, so do you want me to say one of your topics, or do you want to say it?
I guess, yeah, we can blend it in.
One of your topics is overthinking. And I don't know if it's like just for introverts, but me just being like in my head a lot, I have a tendency to overthink a lot.
Me too.
So
I just think if you overthink about something, maybe something happened the other day, and you're overthinking about it, and you're wondering if, I don't know, what's a good example?
it could be like a social interaction.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I was
yeah.
gonna say.
Like a social interaction, and you're thinking like, oh, why isn't this person called me? Why isn't this person texted me? What is happening? And you're overthinking, oh, this person must hate me. This person must not enjoyed whatever happened yesterday.
You create a story in your head.
And you start thinking things that aren't true. And if you're overthinking too much, and pretty much, go to my notes.
Wait, he has notes. He brought notes. He can't.
He's
prepare.
prepared, guys.
Yeah.
Prepared.
Write it down.
And you're taking things, personal, and it's not good to take too many things personal, especially, honestly, you shouldn't really take anything personal.
Yeah.
Unless it's really bad.
With the overthinking and taking it personal, I actually have an update of a situation I brought up last week. They did say it was okay to talk about it. They actually thought I was mad at them because last week we covered how I went about the wrong way of basically telling someone, hey, you need help. I know. I told them they needed help, and they didn't take that well. They distanced themselves and stopped talking. Well, earlier today, he reached out, and we had a very productive conversation about it. We both basically explained that we were both in the wrong. He discussed that, yeah, he does have some stuff. There's some things going on, and he's definitely trying to work on it, and we covered it. And because of that, we are now actually friends again.
That's great to hear.
Personally, I never gave up on him, never did. And when I had that conversation with him, it made me feel better because dead serious, I looked at this guy as a brother.
That's kind of like, so me and Dimitri were talking about like our friendship last week, and that's kind of like, that reminds me of our friendship, of what we had to like kind of go through as far as like conflict and communication. When it comes to like overthinking it in those scenarios, for me, it's easy to like overthink with like with your friend, of like their behavior, as like you're attributing it to as like a reflection on who you are, as like, this is my fault that they are distancing or whatever, when really there's something like deeper going on. And I think when once that person comes to you, once communication happens, then I think that helps like the overthinking part because you can find like some truth into it. If that makes
Absolutely.
sense.
One of the things that ended up helping him was actually talking to people about it because he genuinely thought I was upset and angry with him.
Yeah.
And I made that clear because like I saw bits of myself in them.
Same.
And I kind of like, that's why I would press him so hard, but I ended up going about it the wrong way. He distanced himself. But fun fact, he actually listened to last week's podcast. And he said he's going to listen to this one once we post it.
Heck yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm glad he reached out. And the thing is, people always have a way of coming back. That's kind of what I'm trying to get here. Because with something like that, if things happen, you go about it the wrong way. Sometimes they need space, and they will end up coming back.
And you know, it's messy. It's a messy. When we're dealing with like different personalities and people, it's messy, and a lot of mistakes can happen. And I'm being more open to making mistakes and being wrong. And it sounds like you know, like you admitted like, hey, I did this the wrong way, and I think that's so important. Because I feel like in so much in like relationships or like whenever we like through overthinking, we like create stories like in our mind about the situation that isn't like really true, but it's like something that it's how we make sense of the situation, if that makes sense. And
No,
that's
yeah.
like that's why journaling for me helps with overthinking. It helps me to like organize my thoughts and stuff. So.
I actually have one more. You said you were close to this person. They were like a brother.
I am. Like, he showed up this year, actually. He
Okay.
transferred here, and I think I was actually one of the first people that actually ended up talking to him because he's in the drumline with us. He's in the band.
Oh, nice.
I kind of like got him talking,
Okay.
and so we kind of built that bond.
Well, did you like notice if anything was wrong with them? Because if you're close and if you notice something's going on, then reaching out is like honestly a very good thing.
No, yeah, I did because we ended up building that bond, and we became incredibly close. And one of the things we covered last week was like home life and people you're being around. There's positives and negatives when it comes to that. There were more negatives when it came to that with this person, but I also felt a connection with him because like he kind of reminded me of how I was, especially my freshman year, because we know I didn't have the best freshman year. But no, like I saw that, and I would push for him to talk, but like in a respectful way. I showed my patience with him, and he ended up opening up, and I would sit there and listen. And one of the things I would always bring up, you weren't here last week, I'm not sure if you listened or not, but throw in that question of, do you want a listener or what was it, like feedback? Kind of like answers.
That's what
Yeah.
it was, yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
my mind's going a million miles a second today.
Yeah.
Okay, I actually did listen to the podcast last week. I did do that.
Yeah.
We love it. We love it.
And
You
I
all
think
should too.
listening or just listening is honestly way better than trying to give advice, honestly, because if you try and tell someone to go to therapy, it most likely won't work. It only really works if they want to be there and they want
Yeah.
Oh, no, yeah. No, with this
Preach.
person, I blatantly said, you need help. And I knew that was wrong the moment I said it, but I couldn't take it back. But, like, I am glad he reached out, though, because, like, first thing we did when I walked in the rotunda, he said hello to me. I was like,
Bro,
I love this.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
that bond. That's so
That's
beautiful.
good.
one
I
of the
feel like
many
that's not the
highlights of
same.
my day today, I'm not going to lie.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean, I can completely see the side of like, you shouldn't tell people that they need help because at the end of the day, if they know they need help, like they will do it, and you shouldn't be like, they should come to their own understanding of needing that help rather than someone telling them they need help, because then it's like they do it because they're being told. Otherwise, they should rather do it because they know what's wrong and they can see and they want to change that. Introspection. So
Yeah,
that's better.
I've always had that issue of trying to help people and trying to give advice or like trying to solve the problem when they just want someone just to talk to and just be listened to. And honestly, now I know for future situations.
That's why I always ask them the question,
Yeah.
because sometimes they actually want to hear your feedback and they do listen. Just obviously don't throw out that, hey, you need help, because that's,
Yeah.
as we stated last week, the worst way you could go about doing it.
Oh,
I completely agree.
yeah. Yeah, so like, okay, I was gonna say, so like in my social psych class, we're talking about intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. It was so interesting because extrinsic is based on like, okay, a reward. I'm doing something for a reward or because someone else said I need to do it. And intrinsic is like based on like what I feel that I need, and I feel like that's so important. And like both of these situations is that someone wants to do something because they feel convicted to do it, not because of like your friend or whoever said that you should do it. And I think that's so important, especially when we're like helping someone like in a mental health situation, is that first that person has to have that like the intrinsic motivation, that want to get better, and that desire and the will to carry it out. You can like you can like kind of like steward that. You can like encourage them, but also like they have to. You know,
It should always come from them first, though.
Yeah,
It should.
and it seems like from like maybe your situation, like that person needed time to come to you, or time to come to like understanding of.
No, it
situation.
took him time to start opening up when I had said that he did distance himself, because obviously, as we just said, that's the worst way to go about it.
Mm-hmm.
But after that space, because he thought I was mad at him for ignoring him. I wasn't. Never was. I was upset with myself. I really was. But I knew that distancing.
I'm mad at myself.
That's right. No, I knew the distancing was key for this, and I kind of played it as I'm gonna wait till he responds or sends out or reaches out, because like probably just needs that time, and he did. He reached out. Everything's good.
Yeah, what's beautiful
That's
about
great.
that is that you as the listener learn something and how to help that person. And like it's a win-win, because both of you have learned something from this experience,
Mm-hmm.
and both of you are built like got more built. No,
You
no.
built a better connection.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Micah. And yeah,
That's what I
and
feel
that's-
like, because
it's freaking
when
beautiful.
exactly when you've got friends, family, whatever it is that come to you.
Cats.
Huh?
Cats.
I don't
That's
think
my
cats
cat.
have.
The musical?
My cat.
Do cats go through psychological problems?
Ooh,
Probably
Micah.
not.
I think you might know something about that.
No, that's a different.
Actually,
That's different. That's different.
Animal episode? That could be kind of cool. Anyway.
Anyways,
Let's
We're
close
not about, like
friends.
people.
I want to be there for that episode.
I feel like even when you go about it the wrong way, when they end up coming back, it does build that bond. It makes it better.
Yeah.
So like it just
Yeah.
kind of like I'm
Micah.
somewhat.
Because I feel like we all know that we've been through like recent like things.
Yeah.
Oh,
sometimes
absolutely.
things fix
It's just
themselves
like-
a little too well as well.
It's just like clicks.
Yeah.
Can we
So-
talk about the being fixed too well, actually? Because like there's positives and negatives with that. When it's too well, they're presenting themselves as, "Oh, I'm fine." No, they kind of present it as if they don't want you to know.
Yeah.
They want to-
That's definitely true. Yeah.
They kind of want it to be perceived as it's fine, but realistically, it's probably gotten worse.
That's when like
It's
what Kane.
shame.
That's what
Mhm.
Kane said like last episode. Like
Yep.
then that's like a sign to like watch out for. But I like how you mentioned shame. Shame is such a huge thing in this, and like you know, whether it is just like on how we like help people, or like that person can feel shame that they're being helped, that they distance themselves, or the person that wants to listen and be there for the friend, they feel shame about it. Like you said, you were mad at yourself. I would like consider that as like shame for like, because you like you made a mistake, and once like shame gets in it, it kind of like it breaks down like connection and communication, and it doesn't allow for any like sort of understanding or vulnerability to happen, because if both people feel shame, then you create like a. Sorry, I'm going off.
There you go.
If both people have shame,
Go off.
if both people have shame, then they create like a story, like a shame-based narrative about what's going on, and then they're gonna either blame themselves or sometimes like lash out, like we talked about like last week, how we like lash out at like people.
Yep, guilty.
Yeah, so it's like you lash out based on like the feeling you feel internally shame, so you lash out at like the people that are closest to you, or you feel shame about like and like how you're helping someone, so you kind of just say, forget it, you don't want my help, whatever, I'm just gonna like cut you out like that.
I feel like it's a mix of shame and guilt when it comes to those two, especially.
Yeah.
A little bit of embarrassment too. I feel like, especially helping, reaching out. If you like, even the closest friends that you may have, you might feel embarrassed to reach out to them because
Because it's a moment of vulnerability, and for men especially, it's like we're showing like a weakness of like a part of ourselves that like we consider as weak or like a struggle, and we don't want to look that way in front of our friends, even though like you said, we've had established like a close relationship with them. That mindset is still there.
That's a huge thing.
Of masculinity.
Well, it's a lot of their opinions too, I feel like.
And the thing that comes down to is the home they were grown in.
Exactly.
Yeah, or like if there are people who have also like come to you for stuff, and now it's like you're going to them, it's like, well, I'm supposed to be like the rock and stuff for them, like the rock that helps them or holds them together or helps keep them together. And it's like, well, now if they see that side of me, it's like, is their perception about me going to change?
The image.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It definitely does, though. It definitely does change. If I feel like most people, at least most men, they think that you shouldn't go get help because you shouldn't be depressed and you shouldn't feel this way.
It's
Because
when
you
you're
should
told to
feel
be a
strong.
man.
You're a man. So I feel like if people feel depressed, they go through this, people say you shouldn't be weak, you shouldn't be going through this, you shouldn't get help because it shouldn't be an issue for you.
We have said this many times on the podcast, but I feel like it should be said even more of what you just said right there. That, men, they don't feel nothing. That's further from the truth.
It's further.
Everybody feels everything. Just
Yes.
because something external doesn't impact them, there's definitely something internal that's impacting them. And when someone says, "Oh, that person's definitely like dead emotionally," no, absolutely not. They've got their own stuff going on, and they don't know how to go about solving it. They don't know how to go about processing it, and they don't know what is acceptable and what isn't.
Yeah, or maybe they just have been like accustomed to be that way. So it's like, oh, well, now that's normal. Me not reaching out, me not asking for help, that's normal. I mean, most of us are simply a reflection of where we come from. We're a reflection of our background, of the way that we were raised, of our childhood. So we kind of carry that stuff with us too. And if we've lived in like an environment where probably more like aimed toward men, but maybe if you've been in an environment where you've been told that talking about your feelings is weird for a man, you're probably gonna struggle to get away from that mindset even as you grow older, and it'll take time for you to learn how to do that, and it won't be overnight. So I can completely understand that
And that helps.
perspective.
I feel like that helps like us, like maybe like as like the people that are like reaching out or whatever. It helps to not take the other person's reaction so personally, because a person is a sum of their life, and I feel like sometimes we kind of like underestimate that. Like we underestimate their background or their history and stuff. I feel like there's a deeper reason of why that person can't open up in the way that is healthy. They don't want to be vulnerable because vulnerability equals rejection, or in their mind it equals like rejection, and that creates like a fear mindset of reaching out, and that even if you have established like a loving close bond, that even within that person can like doubt the bond, and
There's always that sense of doubt
yeah, it's that doubt.
because a lot of it also plays in a lack of confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also like when you're vulnerable with someone, even if we don't think about it that way, with the people that we're vulnerable, we kind of give them a bit of emotional power over us.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that's kind of scary when you're not like, it's like, oh well, maybe like if I have a falling out with this person, like they'll use that against me, or
That's definitely
know?
a big one. Yeah,
Yeah.
not speaking out because you're afraid of someone using it as like ammo in an argument or something like that.
That kind
Yeah.
of comes
Yeah.
back to. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I agree with that.
It
100%.
it comes back to last week where it's that whole, oh, I'm the group therapist.
Oh,
Yep, here we go again.
Oh my
Those
gosh.
those
Here we go
people
again.
don't trust it. Don't trust
You
it.
missed
Those
a lot.
people will, well, most of the time, use it against you. They kind of weaponize it.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's understandable. To,
I
like,
mean, there is people, like, to be fair, though, as someone who, like, I'm a listener, like, when it comes to, like, a lot of stuff, like, I tend to be the one who listens to people.
Mhm.
There is people who, like, do that and do it with, like, malicious intention.
Mhm.
But there's also, like, people who genuinely just like to listen to
Mhm.
others and will always listen to everything that you have to say.
Mhm.
So it's not always that way, but there's definitely people out there from both sides of that like thing, like listeners and talkers who can be like malicious, but generalizing that all listeners do it for a bad intent is a little inaccurate, if I can
Yeah.
say so myself.
Yeah, and it's
agree.
and I think that's why it is scary to be vulnerable. For me, my journey is, again, kind of like what I mentioned last episode. Being vulnerable is still, and it still is scary for me, but there are like healing moments that remind me that the risk is worth it. It's like so worth it to have someone like allow someone to speak into your life. Like, remember when it happened a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
and I was crying in the room, and it was kind of like it was a moment for me to kind of break out of that shell of invulnerability where you don't allow people to speak into your life or allow people to help you. And because I think like just with being conditioned as like being the shoulder to cry on, or to have other people or to help other people, and I guess like a lot of I talk with this with Lauren, like nursing majors or psych majors, or I guess like any major can relate to this, like of being like you can relate to this too, like of being like the empath, and just
Ooh,
it could
I
be-
mean,
yeah.
empathic people probably doesn't necessarily have anything to do with your major.
yeah.
Well,
I mean, being an empath can probably contribute to something you seek out, but really,
Yeah.
like, you can be an empath and you can be like a business marketing major.
Yeah.
I mean,
But like the
When-
point is just getting
I mean, there is, like, to be fair, psychologically, there is people who are predispositioned
yeah.
to want to seek out certain job lifestyles,
Yeah.
but that's not always necessarily the case.
and
But,
I
like-
mean, in terms of being an empath in the business field, you can tell when you're selling people.
Yeah.
You can
But-
tell when your product's going to be sold.
But like, well, yeah, my main point with that is just that, you're conditioned to believe that people don't want to help you based on like interactions that you had either with your family or through your upbringing or through school. Is that people aren't to be trusted. Like, you create the story like, okay, people aren't to be trusted. It's not worth it being vulnerable. But like when I started being vulnerable with like the right people, it like I was surprised that it allowed me to have like deeper connections with people, and I could like finally be known, and like I could be like accepted for who like I truly am. And
Yeah.
that was like life changing.
I mean, vulnerability is kind of a two-way street. Like, you have to be open, but
Mhm.
also, like, the person who you are being open has to, like, give you some sort of sense of trust or comfort for you to open. You're not going to open up to someone who you met, like, yesterday.
Like build that trust
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
that's something I definitely struggled with, like being able to trust someone and being able to be open with them and telling them like what's happening. Pretty much, like that's something that's definitely been difficult.
Interesting.
What do you think has helped you like be more open with people? In terms of
If they've been open
vulnerability.
to me, honestly, that's
Yeah.
kind of how my brain works. But I do trust people. I trust a couple friends, you know, and I'm open with them, which that's important for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's probably impossible to really have genuine vulnerability with someone you don't trust.
Yeah. But I'm,
Yeah.
and like where I'm coming from is just like the whole mind stared off into space. Like the whole mindset of vulnerability is just can be avoided by men because of how we're afraid and how we're brought up, is that it's just not something like to do, because and there are a lot of reasons, but I think we kind of already covered it. And I think like our different experiences with like our different like relational interactions, like with Xander and your friend, you both learned that vulnerability is good. It leads to like, you know, good communication and a deeper connection.
One of the biggest things is for those that are struggling, it is perfectly fine to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Pick who you trust and then
Exactly.
open yourself up to them.
Yeah.
Don't automatically force yourself, but ease yourself and push yourself into that vulnerability. And for those that are on the receiving end of that, make sure you have patience, because you never know where they're coming from. You never know how they are. You don't know what they're struggling with. The patience is key. And listen.
And even sorry. Oh yeah. Okay. So I was gonna like kind of go around the room, but like, and with like, you know, your interactions that you've had, like maybe with like coming to college and everything, maybe you've learned that it is okay to be like my vulnerable self with these new interactions that I've had. I've built up these connections and they accept me. I'm learning that it's okay. And with you, I think we learned so much about vulnerability, even like within like the past month, about like how we each shared our struggles of what we were going through, you know. Yeah.
I agree.
Were you about to say something?
Just going off what Xander said, it's so healthy. It's so healthy to, you know, have that circle of trust and, you know, be vulnerable when you can, and you need to be, and have those people, those good people be around you and help you out with that is also really crucial as well. So I definitely 100% agree.
It's the environment that you're in.
Exactly.
So
Of course.
I feel like I like that Xander, you shared some of your like some of your situation, because I think it like you revealed like how like maybe like messy things can be, and how we're like we talked about last episode, is that we're all learning. We're like in a learning process of how to support people and how to be supported. We're all like kind of like just figuring it out. And you know, you admitted to doing some things that were okay, and I'm sure that person like has also like admitted things.
No.
to-
I could speak briefly about the conversation that we shared. Obviously, I'm not going to go into details.
Yeah.
We accepted that we were both in the wrong. We apologized. We discussed the issues that were occurring, and they have openly stated that they had actually gotten slightly worse, but they reached out, and that's why we're talking again now. We are... I personally feel like we are already closer as a bond after just had that conversation today and getting to see them in the rotunda. It's always a learning experience on both sides. And for those fools that say, "Oh, I'm a master at this," sit down, sweetheart. No, you're not.
Sweetheart. Yeah, I like that mindset. It's like approaching it like just approaching it as you're not that you don't know what you're doing, but also that you don't know everything that you're doing. You only know so much, and our interactions, our messy conflicts or our messy situation where we're supporting people is an opportunity for us to learn and grow, and to understand ourselves and the other person on a deeper level and develop like a closer bond.
One of the big things with me and this stuff, when I'm going to help people, I always begin that mindset of this is going to be a learning experience, because everyone's different. Everyone's got their own personality. They have their own ways. They have their own issues. They have their own coping mechanisms. Just everyone's different with everything. But there's always that mindset of connection between you two.
Yeah.
Like me and this person, I felt the connection.
Yeah.
And I actually told him that. And I'm pretty sure they understood where I was coming from. And that's kind of what helped with this situation.
And you wanted to just build up more of that connection that you already have. You wanted to, it seems like you didn't want to let that, it seemed like you didn't want to let that define like the whole relationship, because you were, you wanted to establish like communication and everything. And I think that's so important too when dealing with supporting people is that learning and just allowing the vulnerability, because I feel like as men, when we're like, we always want to be either right or for me, we either like identify ourselves as right or wrong in a situation, because we see things in black and white, where you both admitted that there was something there. Both of you guys had something certain.
We both admitted it, and I want to speak on the relationships as a whole. Yeah. Each one's different. There's going to be those people that are like, okay, I'm going to go talk to this person immediately.
I have a donut.
Donut. And then there's going to be...
Donut?
That's a mood. I might get a smoothie after this. No, but like, there's those people that will be like, okay, I'm going to talk right away. And then there are those people where they will begin to distance themselves and wait for someone to come to them like, hey, are you okay? And then there's also those people that push people away because they don't want help. I'm putting that in quotations, by the way, because you know that you should talk to somebody, because talking does help. But with those people, they don't want to like accept it. And one of the biggest things that I've noticed that plays into that is a trust issue. And like that's where the patience kind of comes into play. And also, actually, Micah, you go real quick.
Okay, I was gonna say something real quick. Never gonna give you up, really. Okay, I was gonna say, what? I just saw it. Did I mess it up? Okay, I was just saying, because we both have a friend that the other day they mentioned, like, well, I just opened up, immediately, not immediately, but they their position of vulnerability was like how they approach it is like, when getting to know someone. And I'm not like that, but some people are, and there's like you said, people, it takes time, and it depends on the person of how they want to come to you, or how they're just like, they're an open book, what they call people that are open books. Yeah.
There's a line though.
There is a line. Yeah.
One of the big things I want to get into with like your relationships with people when it comes to helping them are, I could come up with a better way to say this, but there are those people that will seek attention, that will like say they need help. Like they'll send you that text of ugh, and then you're going to be like, what's up? And you're like, it's nothing. And then with those people, what I've noticed is it's kind of like a reliance for like negative conversation. But with those people, you gotta recognize that they're in one of the lowest mental states that they could be in, and that's when you need to apply your utmost patience and your utmost respect to it, That's right, sunshine. But like, that's something you gotta be really cautious about. And I'm not saying read into it. Like if someone, it's like sometimes there's a person, and they'll be like, "Oh boy," or "Ugh," or "Good Lord," and then they'll wait for you to initiate the conversation, and that also plays into a negative mindset on their aspect, because they kind of like seek the negative attention from you, but like they're also like secretly crying out for help.
So that like action, that behavior is a secret cry for help, but they're doing it in like an unproductive way.
It's just
Yes,
like
and-
people's lack of being able to properly communicate.
Oh, okay.
Real.
That's
And-
really-
That's also
And
Sorry,
the-
but communicate properly.
That's very true.
And
Yes.
for those that listen to this and are like that, I promise you, this is not a dig at you at all. I promise. It's just we're covering. But like one of the big things that they'll seek is that negative feedback, and they kind of like don't want to have the conversation, but when you initiate the conversation, you get them to open up, they begin to overthink overdrive, and they'll like second guess everything you say. They'll assume the worst, and then they'll actually end up voicing that to you. And for those Angie just good Lord. But I lost my train of thought. Okay, I got it. So like with that, what plays into it is you gotta provide some serious patience with that. Don't let them keep push. That's not like there's very specific situations where this plays into, but push back on the negativity. Give them that reassurance, that positive reassurance. Don't assume like, oh, this is definitely going to be the best thing. This is going to be the best outcome, or this is definitely going to be the worst outcome. Don't assume. Don't push them.
Yeah,
like
just go in neutral.
don't agree with their story that they're telling themselves.
No. We want to provide them with that positive feedback because that will help them, and they will always come back to second guess it even when you're done talking.
Because maybe like
Excuse me.
maybe they're behaving in such a way that like that validates their own like inner story or inner critic about who they are, so they behave as like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
I like that. I
That's
like
true.
that.
Yeah.
They'll start telling themselves things in order to just keep building on.
Well, you can't. That's good.
Well,
Okay.
I think that's a good way of wrapping it up. So anyone have any final thoughts?
I
Before we
need
had
a
it?
donut.
Just you don't need to fit yourself into any box. Just be who you are, and the right people will not judge you, and they will be there when you need
Exactly.
them, and they'll accept your vulnerability.
Yes. All right. It's about bounce.
Bye, Angie.
How about you guys?
Provide the positive feedback when it's required. Be sure to listen. You yourself don't overthink what they're telling you. They are coming to you for help, and they really just need a listener. And if they want feedback, ask them that question. Do you want a listener, or do you want that feedback?
I think opening up, not overthinking, of course. Don't try and take things too personal, for sure. And talking about things, being friends with introverts or extroverts, and just trying to not believe what too many people are saying about mental health, and listening to people saying that you shouldn't be depressed or shouldn't be anxious because it's normal. It's completely normal.
Don't allow shame to disrupt communication or your friendship or relationship. Don't allow that, because that creates a story, and we all do it. Like, I'm gonna be the first one to admit like with the overthinking, it's like creating like a story about like someone, especially with like the texting and everything. Like, you didn't respond to me, you don't like me, or whatever's going on, whatever story we make. But just try to like assume the best out of like the other person, even if the behavior doesn't look good. Try to assume that they there's more to the story. And also, I need to eat a donut because I'm kind of hungry.
So yeah, yes, overall, all those points completely valid, and honestly, yeah, just overall communication, and everyone always, I want to say, I think needs a good person to talk to, and
Absolutely.
yeah. All right, well, I think that'll be it for today's episode. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and on Spotify where you listen to this. Don't forget the help button.
Press the help button.
Oh shit, I forgot. So yeah, overall, and one thing about good friends is that they will never give you up.
I'm gonna jump across this table.
Oh yeah. All right, well that's how we're ending the episode, guys. Hope you enjoy it. Leave a like it. And, go follow us on Spotify and on Instagram. And yeah, we're gonna leave with this song playing.
I love each and every one of you.
Yep, exactly. See y'all next time. And so do I.